Let's bring you some breaking news that has come to us in the last minute or so from Buckingham Palace. His Majesty the King has today initiated a formal process.
All right, something unexpected appears to be unfolding inside the royal family.
There's been a strategic shift within the royal family.
As reports claim, King Charles has allegedly taken a surprising step involving Queen Camilla.
It is about journeying forward into the future, while also journeying back to remember the past and learn from its lessons.
After a shocking report connected to Prince William.
I think it's very important that tradition stays, and tradition has a huge part of all this. But there's also points where you look at tradition and go, is that still fit for purpose today? Is that still the right thing to do? Are we still doing and having the most impact we could be having?
The alleged development has generated intense speculation about trust, family relationships, and what may be happening behind the palace walls. As royal watchers try to understand the situation, many are asking what William's report could have revealed and why it reportedly changed the atmosphere at the palace. But is there more behind this royal drama than anyone knows? So, what do you think? Was William's alleged report enough to change King Charles' view of Camilla? Or is it just another royal misunderstanding? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. Prince William's secret report. So, this is where the entire story begins. For years, King Charles and Queen Camilla appeared to stand together as a strong and united team. Whether attending royal engagements, greeting the public, or representing the crown at important events, they projected the image of a stable partnership. From the outside, everything seemed calm. But according to recent reports and royal speculation, that picture may have changed after Prince William allegedly made an unexpected decision behind closed palace doors. Rather than raising his concerns during a private conversation, the Prince of Wales is said to have spent months quietly observing what was happening inside the royal household. Reports claim he carefully gathered information, noted recurring patterns, and organized everything into a confidential report intended for only one person, King Charles. The document was reportedly sealed and delivered to Buckingham Palace late one evening, long after most palace staff had finished their duties. That detail alone immediately caught attention. This was not described as an ordinary message or a routine update. According to the reports, it was presented as a private document meant only for the king's eyes, suggesting that William believed the information was too important to be discussed casually. Naturally, the alleged delivery raised a series of fascinating questions. What could have persuaded the future king to take such an unusual step? Why reportedly put everything in writing instead of speaking directly with his father? And what could have been inside those pages that some reports claim was significant enough to completely change the way King Charles viewed the situation almost overnight? Those questions have fueled intense discussion among royal watchers, with many wondering whether the report truly revealed something unexpected, or whether the claims have simply added another layer of mystery to life inside the palace. According to the story, however, the report did not appear out of nowhere. It was the result of months of quiet observation, careful documentation, and growing concern about events unfolding behind palace walls. The real story did not begin with the envelope itself. It reportedly began much earlier, with a series of small moments that, when viewed together, painted a far more troubling picture. Here's what happened. William's report threatened the enviable relationship between King Charles and Camilla. But was the report emotionally drafted, or did he carefully study certain issues within the palace before presenting a detailed account to his father? And why did he choose a formal approach instead of simply explaining his concerns privately? Let's find out. William's effort in gathering information. Now, this is where the mystery becomes much deeper. According to the reports surrounding this story, Prince William's alleged actions were not driven by a sudden emotional reaction or a personal disagreement within the family. Instead, claims suggest that the Prince of Wales took a much more careful and calculated approach before bringing his concerns to King Charles. Rather than immediately confronting the situation, William reportedly spent months quietly paying attention to what was happening inside the royal household. He allegedly observed changes, listened to concerns from trusted members of staff, reviewed certain situations, and documented incidents that he believed his father needed to understand. At first, many of these moments reportedly appeared to be unrelated: a staff member leaving a position, trusted advisor becoming less involved, change in and the way information moved around the palace. At first glance, every incident appeared small enough to dismiss as an ordinary palace matter. But as similar events kept unfolding, William reportedly began noticing a recurring pattern, raising an important question. Were these simply isolated situations, or were they all connected by something much bigger? Reports suggest that some long-serving palace employees, people with years of experience and deep knowledge of royal traditions, became uncomfortable with certain developments inside the household. Some were said to have requested transfers, while others reportedly felt their influence and access were gradually changing. These alleged situations created a growing sense of uncertainty among some palace insiders. People who had spent decades understanding royal procedures reportedly began wondering whether the usual way of doing things was being replaced by a different approach. For William, the concern was reportedly not about one single event. It was about a pattern, a series of smaller moments that, when placed together, appeared to reveal something much bigger than anyone initially realized. And this was reportedly the reason he decided his father needed to see everything clearly, not through rumors or incomplete conversations, but through a detailed account of what had been happening. But the most surprising part of the story was not that William had concerns. It was what the report allegedly claimed those concerns revealed about the changing balance of power inside the palace. So, William reportedly spent months gathering information and documenting unusual patterns within the monarchy. But was the report he compiled truly a necessary warning meant to raise alarm? Or were these simply regular events that occurred within palace operations? Let's uncover the intriguing details. The pattern William discovered. This is where the entire story reportedly took an unexpected turn. According to the claims surrounding the alleged report, William was not simply presenting one complaint or one isolated concern. Instead, the document was said to contain a collection of different situations that, when examined together, created a much larger picture of what was allegedly happening inside the royal household. Reports claimed the document included details about repeated staff changes, the growing influence of a close group of advisors around Camilla, questions about how certain palace decisions were being made, concerns about financial processes, and changes in the way information was reportedly reaching senior members of the royal family. At first glance, each situation may not have seemed serious on its own. A staff member changing roles could have been explained as a normal career decision. A new advisor joining the team could have appeared like a simple adjustment, and a different approach to handling communications could have been viewed as modernization. But, according to the alleged report, William believed these events were not random. He reportedly saw a pattern developing, one where traditional systems and long-established procedures appeared to be changing in ways that deserved closer attention. The concern, according to the claims, was not only about individual decisions, it was about influence. Who was shaping those decisions? Who had access to important information? And was the traditional structure of palace authority being altered without proper oversight? Reports suggest William believed that the issue had become bigger than personalities or family relationships. It was about protecting the stability and reputation of the institution itself. However, William was also reportedly aware of something important. King Charles would not make a major decision simply because his son raised concerns. The king had spent decades preparing for his role and understood the importance of fairness, evidence, and careful judgment. That meant Charles would have to examine everything personally. He would need to look beyond emotions, family connections, and personal loyalty. Instead, he would have to verify every claim, review every detail, and determine for himself whether the concerns outlined in the report were accurate. And according to the story, that investigation would become the moment when everything inside the palace began to change. The pattern William observed could not be ignored, so he documented everything and presented it to his father. But would King Charles react to the report emotionally, or would he remain objective while reviewing it? And what would he do with the information? Let's find out. Charles' investigation of William's claims. All right, this is where things become even more fascinating. According to the reports surrounding this story, King Charles did not immediately react with anger or rush into a confrontation after receiving William's alleged concerns. Instead, he reportedly chose a much more careful approach. Rather than making a decision based only on his son's claims, Charles began a private review of the information presented to him. He wanted to understand the situation for himself and determine whether the concerns were supported by facts. Reports suggest that the king went through various records and personal notes from previous months. He compared details from William's report with his own diaries, palace schedules, financial documents, security information, and conversations he could remember. What made the situation even more complicated was that many of the moments reportedly mentioned in the document were not dramatic events. Instead, they were small incidents, a change in communication, a different approach to decision-making, a staff adjustment, or a conversation that felt unusual but was easy to dismiss at the time. However, according to the claims, Charles began viewing these moments differently. Events that had once seemed ordinary or easily explained started to appear connected when considered together. The king began questioning whether he had missed signs that were happening around him. Situations he had previously accepted without concern took on a new meaning after being examined from another perspective. For someone who had spent years trusting those closest to him, this realization was reportedly difficult to process. The issue was no longer just about individual disagreements or palace management. It was about whether important information had been reaching him completely, and whether certain decisions had been made without the level of oversight he expected. According to the reports, Charles took time before deciding what to do next, because any action would have serious consequences. It involved not only his personal relationship with Camilla, but also the stability and public image of the monarchy. But after reviewing the information and reaching his own conclusions, Charles reportedly made a move that shocked many people inside the palace. And that decision would completely change the atmosphere within the royal household. So, the king could relate to the report his son had submitted when he compared it with his personal diary. But would he publicly confront his wife, or would he take a more diplomatic approach? And how would Camilla be treated because of the content of the report? Let's find out. An unexpected distance. But what happened next reportedly surprised palace insiders even more. According to the claims surrounding this story, the change did not happen through a dramatic confrontation or a public disagreement. There was no heated exchange captured by cameras. No official statement was released. No announcement explained that anything had changed. Instead, the reported shift was much quieter. Behind the palace walls, Charles began creating distance through a series of small but noticeable changes. Reports claim that familiar routines between the king and Camilla began to change. Their usual private moments became less frequent, and interactions that once appeared natural and personal reportedly became more formal. According to the reports, the king quietly reshaped his daily routine, altered plans for official engagements, and increasingly managed important palace matters through his private office, avoiding the direct conversations with Camilla that had once been a normal part of their partnership. According to the reports, transportation arrangements were also altered, with Charles and Camilla no longer appearing to move together as often as they previously had. Perhaps the biggest change, however, was reportedly seen in palace decision-making. Camilla, who had once been viewed as an important partner in many royal discussions, was allegedly left out of certain conversations and planning meetings. Instead, Charles reportedly relied more heavily on his own advisors and other senior members of the royal family. To people outside the institution, nothing appeared unusual. The king and queen consort continued attending public events together. They continued performing their official duties. they continued presenting the image of stability expected from the monarchy. But according to the claims, those closest to palace operations noticed a different reality behind the scenes. The warmth and partnership that had previously defined their relationship allegedly began to disappear, replaced by careful distance and formal communication. For Camilla, the reported change created confusion. She had no public explanation and no clear confrontation, and according to the story, she was left trying to understand what had caused such a dramatic shift in the relationship she had spent years building. As the palace quietly adjusted to the new reality, Camilla reportedly began searching for answers about what had changed and why the king's attitude toward her had suddenly become so different. So, now that Charles had drawn a clear boundary with Camilla, what will she do to repair their relationship? Will her efforts succeed, or will the situation remain irreversible? Let's uncover the details. Camilla's damage control. Alright, so this is where the story becomes much more personal. According to the claims surrounding these events, Camilla was not immediately aware of the full reason behind Charles' sudden change in behavior. From her perspective, the distance reportedly appeared to happen without warning. The relationship that had once been built around partnership and trust seemed completely different. Reports suggest that Camilla tried to understand what had caused the shift. She requested private conversations with Charles, hoping they could discuss the situation away from the pressures of royal duties. She reportedly wanted to know whether she had made a mistake, whether there was a misunderstanding, or whether something deeper had happened behind the scenes. However, according to the claims, those attempts did not lead to the answers she was hoping for. Instead, she allegedly received brief responses and formal communication rather than the personal conversation she expected. Some reports also claim that Camilla reached out to people close to her, hoping trusted friends could help her understand what had changed. She reportedly tried to find someone who could explain why the atmosphere inside the palace had suddenly become so different. At one point, she attempted to speak with William as well, believing he might provide some insight into the situation involving his father. But, according to the story, that effort also reportedly ended without the explanation she was looking for. Meanwhile, the atmosphere around her inside the palace allegedly began changing. Staff members who once sought her guidance reportedly became more careful in their interactions. Familiar conversations became more formal. Certain invitations and discussions that she previously expected to be part of reportedly became less frequent. The most difficult part, according to the claims, was the uncertainty. A direct disagreement would have provided something clear to address. But instead, Camilla was left trying to understand a situation where the reason behind the distance remained unclear. While she was searching for answers, Charles was reportedly taking further steps to reshape how the palace operated. And those changes, according to the reports, would reveal that this was not simply a personal disagreement, but a much larger shift in the balance of influence inside the royal household. Here's what happened. Camilla's attempts to speak with both William and his father about the situation were met with silence and formal responses. But could this reveal the type of monarchy William may lead in the future? Will he be more lenient than his father, or might he take a more decisive approach? Let's find out. William's tough leadership style. Interestingly, the alleged report was said to reveal more than concerns about palace operations. It also appeared to highlight the kind of leader Prince William may become when he eventually takes the crown. For years, William has spoken about his desire to modernize the monarchy and create an institution that feels more connected to the modern world. He has suggested that the future of the royal family will require adaptation, difficult choices, and a stronger focus on purpose. According to a source quoted by journalist Rob Shooter, William's approach to leadership could be very different from previous generations. The insider claimed that while King Charles is someone who often leads with emotion and personal connections, William is more focused on planning, strategy, and long-term consequences. The source also described William as a leader who is willing to make difficult decisions, even when those choices may not be popular with everyone around him. According to this view, William understands that protecting the monarchy may sometimes require placing the interests of the institution above personal relationships or short-term approval. For some palace observers, this approach represents the qualities they believe a future king needs. They argue that the monarchy faces a changing world, and that a leader who can make firm decisions may be necessary to maintain public confidence and preserve the institution for future generations. However, others believe this style could make William a more serious and uncompromising monarch compared with those who came before him. They suggest that a strategic approach may strengthen the crown but could also create moments of tension when difficult decisions affect those closest to him. Whether viewed as strength or firmness, one thing has become clear among royal watchers. The events surrounding the alleged report were seen by some as a possible preview of William's future reign. A future king who may not simply inherit the monarchy as it is, but reshape it according to his own vision of responsibility, stability, and survival. William has a clear vision for the future of the monarchy. But what impact can he make now, before inheriting the throne? And can the crown he will one day inherit be reshaped before his official ascension? Let's dive into the fascinating details. So, as the alleged changes continued, the balance of influence inside the palace reportedly began shifting noticeably. According to the claims surrounding these events, King Charles introduced stricter systems designed to create more control, clearer responsibilities, and stronger oversight across royal operations. New approval processes were reportedly put in place, requiring important decisions to go through more structured channels before being finalized. The changes suggested an effort to ensure that palace affairs were handled with greater transparency and accountability. At the same time, Prince William's role within the institution reportedly continued to expand. Rather than remaining only the future heir waiting for his turn, William was increasingly seen by royal observers as someone already involved in shaping the direction of the monarchy. He was reportedly included in more important conversations, consulted on major matters, and positioned closer to the decision-making process surrounding the future of the crown. For many inside royal circles, this represented a significant change. Experienced advisors who had spent years serving the monarchy were reportedly given a stronger voice again, while traditional procedures and established systems were said to be restored. The message was clear. The institution was returning to a more structured approach where experience, responsibility, and loyalty to the crown carried significant importance. Royal commentators began suggesting that William's position had changed dramatically. He was no longer viewed only as the man who would eventually inherit the throne decades later. Instead, many believed he was already becoming an active partner to Charles, helping protect the stability and future direction of the monarchy. This growing partnership between father and son reportedly sent a strong signal throughout the palace. It showed that the next generation was no longer waiting in the background. William was gradually stepping into a more visible role, gaining experience, influence, and responsibility before the moment he officially becomes king. And for many royal watchers, this marked the beginning of a new chapter in the future of the crown. William's father has made him a close ally in contributing to important decisions within the monarchy. But to what extent will William gain the experience needed for his future reign through this role? And is this decision ultimately meant to protect the crown he will one day inherit? Let's find out. William's growing influence. Interestingly, by this point, many royal commentators believed the alleged events had evolved into something far greater than an ordinary family disagreement. To them, it appeared to signal a deeper shift in palace dynamics, raising fresh questions about influence, leadership, and the future direction of the monarchy. According to the discussions surrounding the alleged events, Prince William's presence beside King Charles reportedly became increasingly noticeable. His involvement in important conversations appeared to grow, and observers began paying closer attention to the role he was taking behind the scenes. Rather than being viewed only as the future monarch, waiting for his opportunity, William was increasingly described by some commentators as an active figure, already helping shape the direction of the institution. For many royal watchers, this represented a significant shift. The Prince of Wales was no longer simply preparing for a future reign that would begin one day. Instead, Some believed he was already gaining valuable experience by working closely with his father and becoming involved in decisions that could influence the monarchy's long-term future. Some commentators even suggested that these developments provided an early glimpse into the kind of King William might become. They believed his approach reflected a leadership style focused on planning, discipline, and protecting the institution even when difficult choices may be required. However, while much attention focused on what the alleged report meant for Camilla and her position within the palace, some observers argued that the bigger story was actually about William himself. The situation reportedly revealed how seriously he views his future responsibility and how prepared he may be to take on the challenges that come with the crown. It suggested a future king who may not simply continue the traditions passed down to him, but someone determined to make his own decisions about how the monarchy should operate in a changing world. And perhaps the most significant question left behind was not only what happened inside the palace, but what these alleged events revealed about the man who may one day sit on the throne. Now, with William's growing influence following the report he presented to his father, how did the royal family manage the situation without allowing it to escalate publicly? And could the future monarchy already be gradually taking shape? Let's uncover the astonishing details. The future of the monarchy. When all of the reported developments are viewed together, a much bigger picture begins to take shape. Here's what happened. According to the claims surrounding this story, the official structure of the monarchy remained unchanged. King Charles continued to hold the throne. Camilla remained queen consort, and Prince William remained the heir, waiting for his future moment. However, beneath the royal titles, polished ceremonies, and carefully managed public appearances, many royal observers believe something far more significant may have quietly unfolded behind palace walls. They suggest the balance of influence within the monarchy may have shifted in ways that could shape its future. William's actions reportedly went beyond simply bringing concerns to his father's attention. The situation was said to have strengthened the working relationship between Charles and his eldest son, creating a closer partnership between the current king and the future monarch. Interestingly, the alleged developments also appeared to reveal a very different style of leadership taking shape within the monarchy. Reports suggested a stronger focus on careful planning, disciplined decision-making, and protecting the crown's long-term future, rather than relying only on tradition or personal relationships, quietly reshaping how the institution operated. For some observers, this was not just about one private situation involving members of the royal family. Instead, they believed it offered a rare glimpse into how William may approach power and responsibility when he eventually becomes king. The Prince of Wales has long been associated with ideas of modernization, efficiency, and adapting the monarchy for a changing world. And according to many royal commentators, the events surrounding this alleged report appeared to reinforce the belief that William is willing to make difficult choices if he believes they serve the future of the institution. Of course, the full truth behind these claims remains a matter of speculation, and only time will reveal what actually happened behind palace doors. But one thing continues to capture public attention. Every decision Prince William makes, every new responsibility he accepts, and every step he takes to support the monarchy is now watched more closely than ever, as many people believe they are witnessing early signs of the king he may one day become. They are looking for clues about the king he may one day become. Dubeinen Undammer. So, what do you think about William's report? Was it an effort to protect the monarchy? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.